The year is 2002. A cartoonist from San Antonio, Texas posts a webcomic online titled Bueno the Bear. He later took it down after thinking it was, quote, terrible. But this strange little bear is more than a failed early 2000s webcomic endeavor. He was the start of something greater. The start of what would turn out to be one of the most important and influential cartoons of all time. That man was Pendleton Ward, and he would go on to make the animated masterpiece Adventure Time. But that's skipping a little bit ahead, because Adventure Time is a monumental show with a monumental story. One that I feel deserves to be shared, and its impact is absolutely undeniable. This was more than a cartoon. It made waves, baby. Do people say that? The point is, Adventure Time is incredibly important. So guys, sit down and relax, because I'm Nemo, and this is how Adventure Time changed everything. Because it did, I promise. Just keep watching. So I already did that little opening bit, but basically, yeah, it started with this Bueno the Bear comic thing. I mean, there was some stuff before. Pendleton Ward liked to make flip books. He talks about that a lot, but I'm starting here because I'm the historian. You can't tell me what to do. Like pretty much everybody in animation ever, Pendleton Ward went to CalArts, where he became close with two future industry legends, Alex Hirsch and J.G. Quintel, who would go on to create two of the biggest cartoons of all time, respectively, Gravity Falls and Regular Show. I mean, I feel like I don't even have to tell you who these people are. That's how monumental they are. Imagine that posse, dude. Imagine that lunch table. Amazing. Pendleton Ward was a visionary, and in school he made the short film Barista the Bear, taking the Bueno the Bear character and putting him back in the spotlight. He looks familiar, right? Doesn't he? Doesn't he look a little familiar? Okay, let's keep going. Okay. After college, Ward began working with Frederator, who ended up really liking the Barista the Bear cartoon. From there, he ended up making shorts for the prolific Random Cartoons, a famous Nickelodeon cartoon clip show that featured what would turn out to be the pilots for some of the biggest cartoons ever, including Chalk Zone and even Fairly Odd Parents. All of these shows ended up as shorts on Random Cartoons, but in all honesty, they were pretty much all just backdoor pilots. Pendleton Ward ended up making two, Adventure Time and Bravest Warriors. The former, Adventure Time, was created back in the year of 2006 and was animated almost entirely by Pendleton himself. The Adventure Time short is now legendary, but back then, it wasn't much, until something amazing happened, and Pendleton posted it on YouTube. The Adventure Time pilot was uploaded on YouTube in 2007 and became a viral hit, garnering over 1 million views. That's right, I don't know if you knew this, Adventure Time started off as a viral video. Not only is this show historically significant once it was greenlit, but it was also one of the first cartoons to go viral, and one of the first viral cartoons to go on to be an actual primetime show. And if you think about it, it's very rare for anything on the internet to translate to television without it being absolutely disgusting. I'm looking at you, annoying orange. But either way, this marked Adventure Time as something different, as a cartoon of the new generation, and it really was. During 2007, Ward began working on Flapjack with his two college friends, J.G. Quintel and Alex Hirsch. We did a whole video on Flapjack. You should definitely check that out because its story is equally as interesting. Though while he was working, he was trying feverishly to get Adventure Time picked up, in a very famous blockbuster turning down Netflix type move. And despite its huge internet popularity, Nickelodeon turned down Adventure Time twice. How do you... Oh, dude, those executives, oh, I feel bad for them. But despite failure, they picked themselves up and dusted themselves off and took the show to Cartoon Network, who decided to pick it up. And it began production in 2008. There was a lot of kerfuffles during the production of Adventure Time, and executives were really often famously confused by what they were doing, often having regular pitch meetings with rooms full of executives who were just confused by the idea. But 2 years later, in 2010, Adventure Time finally premiered, and it was a goddamn hit. I was at the perfect age when Adventure Time came out, and I can verify, you couldn't go anywhere without some snot-nosed little kid being like, "What time is it?" And you'd have to say, "Adventure Time," or else you were like bullied. But regardless, that put us in the era of Adventure Time. Adventure Time really struck a chord with audiences and found a pretty new audience. And that's because it's safe to say it was really unlike anything else that had ever aired ever before, and it showed, guys. This show was bizarre. It used weird lingo like slamacow and algebraic, words unknown to the human language before and used prominently ever since. And the bottom line was, the show was really funny. It had a stellar voice cast, and most of all, it was original. But Adventure Time also had a few other things going its way. Not only was it darker than a lot of other cartoons, especially in the beginning, it was also incredibly raunchier than most. In fact, Adventure Time and its sister show, Regular Show, were the first two PG Cartoon Network shows, and some of the raunchiest we'd ever seen so far.
Wait, no, I take that back. I mean, not like sexy hot.
No,
No, you do mean sexy hot.
No, I don't care.
I remember at one point my dad actually made me turn it off, and I felt super embarrassed, so thanks for that, guys. Adventure Time definitely had childlike humor, and it aired on Cartoon Network, but it popularized the concept of kid shows that weren't just for kids. And soon, Adventure Time was finding an audience with kids, adults, teenagers, everybody, all alike, bonding over this show. So, Adventure Time was airing, it was a hit, the network loved it, people loved it. Where to go from there? More episodes, baby! Adventure Time would air from 2010 until 2018, 8 years and 10 seasons. Now that's a lot of Adventure Time. So during this incredible runtime, how did Adventure Time change everything? Well, where to start? Besides what I said before, for being a show that really had no plot, it managed to build a huge lore around it. And this growing lore created an ever-growing online following, detailed Wikipedia pages, and most of all, theories. Because this huge mystery lore and the little breadcrumbs they were leaving us created a ton of people all across the internet that were hunting for clues, trying to figure out what the Great Mushroom War was. And the crew was helping us out, leaving things in the background and on the sides. There were countless YouTube videos that just slowed down the first part of the theme song. But it makes sense that Adventure Time would have such a huge online following. It was a YouTube hit after all. This ever-complicated and ever-growing lore created some of the highlights of the series and gave us incredible episodes like Simon and Marcy and I Remember You. Adventure Time may look like a bright, happy kids show, but it did not stay in that territory for a long time. Adventure Time also normalized character development, especially for shows that didn't have like a true overarching story. Jake ended up having kids with Lady Rainicorn, and they stayed in the series for pretty much the rest of it. And one of my favorite parts of the series is that Finn grew up and then never changed his voice actor, Jeremy Shada, allowing Finn's voice to go from prepubescent and scratchy to older and deep as the series progressed. And for 8 years, it changed a lot. It really helped feel like we were growing with the characters. And it often touched on mental health, which is honestly extremely topical. It even managed to have LGBT representation with Marceline and Princess Bubblegum, who were pretty much teased as a couple from the very beginning, and luckily the show was on long enough to see it happen. Adventure Time managed to do all of this during its 10 seasons, but that's not really the bread and butter of this topic. This is just really pointing out why Adventure Time is a one-of-a-kind show. What I really want to talk about is its impact. It's kind of hard to put this into words, but I think anybody that's been watching cartoons, especially since 2010, knows what I'm talking about. Adventure Time changed the landscape of animation. The type of cartoons that were being made, the style of cartoons that were being made, the whole two bros dynamic, the noodle arms. All of this could be seen a little bit in a ton of animation that came out after the show. Adventure Time started all of this, and this is carrying through till today. I'm not going to call out any specific cartoons because I don't think it works like that. I don't think you could point to this and be like, ah, there's Adventure Time, do you see it? It's something that you really have to take a step back and look at when you stare at the whole landscape of animation. And it definitely changed how Cartoon Network worked. A show that was turned down by multiple people turned out to uproot an entire network. It pushed Cartoon Network for more original programming and more weird, unique ideas. Not to mention that the incredibly talented Adventure Time crew would go on to make some of the most important cartoons of this generation. I'm talking, of course, about Rebecca Sugar. That's right, I'm definitely counting this. Rebecca Sugar came from Adventure Time. She wrote songs on Adventure Time, and she went on to make Steven Universe, which is huge, and I'm giving that as a point to Adventure Time. It makes sense that executives were concerned during development, but that's just because it was a new idea. You never really see the next trend of animation coming until it hits you, and Adventure Time definitely was that new trend. I'm even willing to argue that the success of Adventure Time is likely a factor in a lot of new adult cartoons, impacting adult animation despite being a quote-unquote child show. Because Adventure Time was big on adult humor, and it never talked down to its audience. It can still be enjoyed by anybody at any age. Adventure Time pushed for more shows that were enjoyed by both adults and kids. And Adventure Time didn't have a specific audience in mind, so by proxy, it became loved by all. And look, I'm not gonna sit here and say that this was just Adventure Time, or that Adventure Time was the only show that had an audience of adults and kids. That's just obviously blatantly wrong. But for a show this big and this prolific, it would be kind of naive to say that it wasn't one of the biggest driving forces for pushing that agenda forward. Pendleton Ward continued to make waves, going on to make the web show Bravest Warriors, one of the biggest and most successful web cartoons of all time. Adventure Time ended its 8-year run with an incredible finale, and if there's any indication on how big this show was, there was countless articles from huge news outlets talking about it. Because everybody agrees that Adventure Time is one of the most important cartoons of all time. Its impact is undeniable, and even though it ended, it'll live on in animation forever. So what's next? Adventure Time's over, okay, whatever. Let's not cry about it, babies. Well, Pendleton Ward is actually making a new cartoon for Netflix, so we're gonna see some good new Pendleton Ward weird stuff very soon. As for the rest, I mean, the rest is history. Rebecca Sugar went on to make Steven Universe. People from Steven Universe are making their own cartoons. It's the cycle of life, baby. But at the very top of it is Adventure Time, one of the greatest and most important cartoons of all time. And guys, that's how Adventure Time changed everything. Well guys, there's the story. But as always, I want to know what you guys think about all of this. Do you like Adventure Time? Do you hate it? Why would you hate it? Let us know in the comments down below, or tweet to us at Roundtable Vids or me at @StretcherNemo. If you want to consider helping out the Roundtable, you can support us on Patreon or become a member of the channel and get exclusive access to scripts and avatars. As always guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content. As always, I'm Nemo, and I'll see you next time. Peace.